Hello everyone, I wanted to make this video to really voice one of my opinions that I don't think people really appreciate, and that is about wigs. I see a million different comments about how thin American Girl wigs are, how they're bad quality, how they're trash, and how they're just oh so terrible that they are thin. Now, to illustrate my point, I've got 4 dolls here. This is Molly. She was my very first doll. I've had her for over 10 years. So her wig is thin due to playtime and use. Then I have Leslie. Her wig has always been one of my thinner wigs, and I'll show that in a minute after I remove her beanie. And then I have these 2 dolls over here, and they are both re-wigged dolls. This is a Jess, and this is a number 56. And these dolls both have wigs that I bought from Etsy that are way thicker than American Girl wigs. And that also costs like $30 each. So, thin wigs aren't bad. That's my point. Thin wigs aren't bad, and dolls with thin wigs are not a huge problem in my eyes. And here's why. My number 1 reason is that thick wigs do not hold hairstyles very nicely. So let me take Amanda May because she is the perfect example of this. So this is a half ponytail. When I try to gather this doll's hair into a ponytail, it is so thick that it doesn't look nice. And when I try to do a braid on this doll, let me pop out, I should have done this before the video, but let me pop out a real quick braid here. Let's pretend like we are doing a real quick braid. All right. Watch. As I braid this, these chunks are so thick that they don't look nice. And granted, I'm not trying really hard to make it look nice, but they're so thick that I can only get like 2 little bumps in before the braid just ends. Alright, so here we go. Oh. Okay, so I don't even have a thick enough hair tie for this. Alright. But as you can see here, that's what a braid starts looking like. Whereas, when I start braiding Molly's hair, which is in a half ponytail right now. So this is Molly's hair in a half ponytail. And if I start to braid it, I can very easily separate it into these manageable chunks. And granted, like I said, it's in a half ponytail. So you may not believe me because my point is a little invalid because my demonstrations are not the best. However, it goes into this nice braid that has shape. We can see, hopefully, the shape that's developing here. Whereas when I do this with thick dolls, and I'm going to show it with Jess too, just so that we can get an accurate comparison on the length. Jess's hair is incredibly thick. Like, I can barely find this doll's scalp, obviously. And that's nice. But her hair is so thick. And not only is it thick, it is heavy. Jess and Amanda May already don't stand up super well on their own, just because I haven't tightened limbs or anything. But especially when I put their hair into a ponytail, they really can't stand up on their own because their hair is so heavy, it pulls the entire doll down with it. So I'm doing my best to make a quick demonstration out of this. But as we can see here, I'm pulling Jess's hair into a braid, and it's not working out for me. This strand keeps... You see, this braid is so thick and chunky, and this hair is so chunky that I'm having trouble braiding it. There's also, these fibers are also really silky, which is nice, but that means that there's no texture to hold any sort of a hairstyle. So if we hold it right here, this braid is really thick, and I can't get it to be any thinner than this. Now let me show you my doll Leslie, who has always had thin hair. She's probably one of my thinnest rooted dolls. As we can see here, we see the scalp, like, pretty much, well, not on camera. You don't? Alright. Messing up her beautiful hair. As you can see here, it's pretty easy to find the scalp. And her wig has always been pretty thin. But let me tell you, her hairstyles that she can hold, they look nice. They look neat. When I do a braid on Leslie's hair, which, like I said, I have And also her hair does not pull her entire body down, which is just really frustrating. Another point that I want to make is that thin wigs doesn't mean that the fibers are the best fibers to use. Like I said, this wig right here, super silky soft, very like nice fibers. However, it doesn't hold hairstyles very well because these fibers, although they aren't like perfectly silky smooth, at least after a few years of use and whatever, even though these fibers may not be as high of quality as this wig, these fibers hold hairstyles better. You have to have some texture and you can't have hair that's super duper thick or else you will not be able to hold hairstyles that well. And now I'm only using the braid as an example, so it would probably be better if I had pictures of various hairstyles. All right. But look at this. I'm able to... This doll has a shorter hair length than this doll, and yet I'm able to get more of a braid out of her wig than I am out of her wig because her wig is a little thinner and has a little more texture, whereas this wig is so thick and so silky that I can't do much with it. And now you might argue that I could do, you know, more smaller braids and other hairstyles like that, and I agree, but it is really frustrating to see people acting as if thick, luscious wigs are the only way to go, because they are not. And the final point that I want to touch on is that doll hair is not like human hair. Human hair is rooted into a scalp, and we have various oils and textures and things, and that means that when we have thick hair as humans, we're able to style it and use products and make it look a certain way. When a doll has thick hair, I can't just like cut out half of the wig, you know? I can't do like an undercut. I mean, I could attempt that, but like I can't just chop off half the hair or thin it or straighten it and make it even thinner or tease it and add texture. Like the texture is sort of stuck like this. Now, technically this wig and the one I bought for Amanda May over there are like heat styleable, but I still can't do anything to reduce the thickness of the wig or to fix the texture problem, really, unless I just want to trash the wig. So these wigs are nice. I'm not going to say they're not nice because I absolutely do love them, and specifically this one because I made a mistake on the other one of trying to color with Sharpie, another story. But I just want people to think about what they're saying when they start to complain about the thinness of a wig. Now, yes, I will say some of it has gotten a little out of hand. Some of the Julie dolls I have seen are very thin. However, thin wigs are not bad. They are not a bad thing. This Molly has a thin wig right here because I played with her and I loved her, and she's got a half ponytail in just fine. She can hold braids just fine. I've done a million different hairstyles on this doll with great success. So, Amanda May, on the other hand, has beautiful hair that I can barely pull into a ponytail, and it's so thick and chunky that it won't even be held in by a single elastic. And I have to use the bigger ponytails on it to actually hold it. And this can be a problem for human hair too, but human hair has a few more things we can do with it, whereas doll hair, we can't really reduce the volume on the wig without completely re-wigging. That is all that I wanted to come on here to say. I just want people to think about how thin wigs actually impact the experience of your doll. And if you still want a doll with a thick wig, that's okay. And I get that when we're paying hundreds, not hundreds, but when we're paying a lot of money for these dolls, granted I paid a lot of money for the wig, not this doll, but when we're paying a lot of money for our dolls, we obviously want them to be like very nice quality. But a thin wig does not necessarily mean that the doll is not high quality. That is all I had to say. Thank you very much. And if you need more photos, please let me know.